Welcome and welcome back to the In My Father's House podcast. I am your host, Reah Stevenson, with my co-host,
Ruel Stevenson.
And in today's video, we will be having part 2 of our Q&A session. In the first part, Dad interviewed me, but in today's video, I'll be interviewing Dad. So, with that being said, let's begin. So, first and foremost, what is your name?
My name is Ruel Stevenson.
How old are you?
I'm 41.
Very nice. Where are you from?
I was born in Guyana, but I was raised in Antigua.
What was it like growing up in your hometown?
Well, which hometown? Guyana or Antigua?
Both of them. Start with Guyana.
Well, growing up in Guyana was a lot of fun. My memories of Guyana was until I was about the age of 8. I was born in Linden and spent 5 years in Linden. And I lived in a police constabulary. My dad was actually a corporal or a police officer or something. And we pretty much, it was pretty much decent. You know, we would get up and we'd go all over, walk in the place and everything. Then I would go over to visit my grandma parents in, I think it's either Half Mile or Blueberry Hill, one to two, I can't remember which is which. And then I would visit my cousins and everything. So after that, we moved to Georgetown when I was about 5 years old and lived there until I was 8. Georgetown was pretty much a little bit more different. It was more developed. And no, it's more developed now, I heard, than when I was there. So I can't imagine the changes. But I was there until I was about 8. So growing up in Georgetown was pretty decent because I made a lot of different friends. Actually, one of my friends I'm trying to find right now, all I can remember this guy's name is Collis, right? I don't remember his last name. I don't know if it's Collis Harris or what, but it's just Collis. We went to school, Stella Maris school, and he was like my best friend at a very young age. It's so funny, right? At a young age, this guy, somebody was like picking on me or bullying me, and he was even shorter than I was back then. And he came around the corner, he went home for lunch, he came back to school, and saw a guy kind of like trying to take my lunch. And the guy's like snatched my lunch kit from me. So and the guy was actually upperclassman. He was taller than both of us together. And Collis came back, dropped his bag, and bam, 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 bam. So you know me, I remember that. You know me, we were like about probably 6 or 7, somewhere around there, right? And I remember him standing up for me and that kind of stuff. But that's somebody I would actually want to find again, right. You know what I mean? So growing up in Antigua, pretty much, you know, I made a lot of friends. Damon, Devon. High school was different, you know. Pretty much a lot of people, they're very close. The Caribbean is very tight-knit. If someone doesn't like you, they don't like you. If they like you, they like you. And if they don't like you, they can learn to like you. So people are they're very different. And growing up there was really a blessing to me because it kind of shaped who I am today. Right. And I learned a lot of good values from teachers in the high school that took an interest in me, right? I even keep in touch with them from time to time. There are so many teachers, I'll give them a shout out later. But, you know what I mean? It's very, I have friends today that I've known since the 90s. And, you know, we will chop it up on different things. Some of my friends share the same birthday as me. So, you know, it's really cool.
That's cool. What is one of your greatest childhood memories?
Greatest childhood memories, pretty much spending time with my cousins. In Guyana, my cousins used to always pick up for me. Morris and Malcolm, they always picked up for me and, you know, looked out for me and everything. And these guys really, when I would come to visit, they really, like, you know, there's a difference between somebody like, oh, well, you're here. And somebody who really like, hey, you're here, you know what I mean? They're excited to see you and stuff. And they became my favorite cousins, actually. And, you know what I mean? I remember times when people used to pick on me, being one of the youngest at the time. And people found out I had a little thing that people used to tease me with. They were like, oh, your mother's dead. And if you tell my mother, I don't even know what death is. I just know she's not coming back. So when my mom used to drop me off at my aunt's house, or take me to my aunt's house, some of the neighbors and different things would tease me when they want to get their own way and I'm not listening or whatever. They're like, "Oh, your mother's dead," and I would just bust out crying. Like, and my cousin Morris and Malcolm used to come and run and kind of like hug me and like, "It's okay, it's not true, and they will like pick up for me. So it's funny. I've always had someone there picking up for me in a sense. And these guys, they really looked out for me as cousins, and I think they were like the most amazing cousins I've ever had. Now I know I have other cousins that we're brothers more than friends.
Right.
I have one of my, you could say, teenage friends today, Travis. Him and I are more like brothers than friends. My friend Alex, we would just go way back. We've got in trouble together. We've done good together. And so Jerome, I mean, these people are people that, created memories. When we went to the beach together, I almost drowned at the beach. So you almost didn't make it. So, I mean, there's so much, the greatest childhood memory, just living in Antigua, living in Guyana, they've created different marks.
That's cool. How would you compare your childhood to mine?
Man. My childhood was amazing. Amazing. Like growing up in the 90s. Growing up in the 90s. Well, the 80s, the 90s, because I'm an 80s baby. So in the 80s, I guess there were a lot of stuff happening, but it wasn't as prevalent as today. People didn't snatch people's kids. You know what I mean? I give you an example. 3 years old, my youngest brother, Travis, he would go walking in the village and riding his bike and everything. And he would come home about 6 p.m. In the summertime, he's gone from morning to evening. And you know what I mean? It was just, you never worried because you know your child is coming back. One time, people looked out for your child as well. Nobody would just mess with your child because it's like they know who the child belongs to. People played in the street. People had fun. You had friends. Today, everybody's in the house playing video game. And it's kind of sad for me. I just talked to one of my friends the other day, like, yo, remember when we used to, and this is a guy that, I'm talking about Dyke. I'm going to call his name. Dyke and I were speaking. And we're like, man, when we used to hang out here and we used to hang out there. And Dyke is Gregory's age. He and Gregory are very close. And Gregory's my brother, actually. So, of course, but for the audience. And, but Dyke and I were speaking, and we were like, our children will never get a chance to experience what we have gotten growing up. And that's the kind of sad part about it. Today, you have to be very careful of where your child is going or what they're doing and who they're doing it with, because perversion has gotten really out of hand. And you know what I mean? But beyond that, the world still stay the same in terms of like there's still the same landscape, right? There's still, you can experience, there's still beauty, even though there's a lot of chaos and turmoil going on.
Right. That makes sense. So now transferring from like childhood to adulthood, how do you feel adulthood has been so far? Like, is it challenging? Has there been struggles and stuff like that?
Being adult, in a sense, it's been, and I'll be honest, it's the way you carry yourself as well. Because I remember back learning this in the Caribbean, it says, manners make it the man. So most times today, people don't have manners. Manners simply by saying good morning, good afternoon, how are you doing, howdy. I remember one time when I was in college, I asked a guy, hey, good day, how you doing? And the guy asked me straight up, do you really want to know? I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm asking. But he was having a hard day. But he was really like, do you really want to know? And that's the kind of like where people are today. They don't necessarily have genuine conversations. They just, hey, they just become like how you doing? How's it going? So for me, it's more like, hey, I really want to know how you're doing. And when I actually insisted, like, how are you doing? He's like, man, I'm having a hard day or something like that. And we're able to speak, right? So I think I've been able to make genuine relationships with people. And being an adult, for me, transitioning from and we will go into this at some point, but transitioning from being a young man into a mature man it's been a journey. It's been a journey for me because sometimes I wasn't prepared for it. And you know, a father, a mother is supposed to prepare their child for adulthood. Training starts when the child is like 6 months, maybe even in the womb. But but for me, it's been a journey. It's been a journey.
Understandable. What family members or friends would you consider an inspiration or mentor?
So one of my friends, yeah, Clem, so we've spoken about different things, religious topics, politics, and we've had heated debates where we're like, no, and when we've spoken about business as well, and there's a lot of stuff I've gleaned from him, and literally, over the year, I remember one time when I was younger, I said, Clem, let's start a company. He's like, no, you're not ready yet. And back in then, I was kind of offended in a sense, but I understood. I had a lot of maturing up to do. So he's been somebody that, we could talk about almost every and anything.
Right.
A nice friend of mine, Andre. Andre is very, somebody that took interest in me from a young age. He's from Guyana as well. He goes to church, met him at church. And over the years, we've gone back and forth. And he's very well established. And I've spoken to him about network. He's the first person to actually introduce me to network marketing, and we've spoken about business, real estate, and different things. And just the fact that he at one time he'd call me when he was actually working on a project, and he wanted me to. Well, he's working on a project where he was the CTO, or he was going to be the CTO of an airline. They were starting at airlines, and he wanted me to be the chief information officer. So that's to tell that hey, when it comes down to certain things, people look at you a certain way, and it started to materialize, but then it kind of unraveled because of situations beyond his and my control. Then I have my friend Moses that we've spoken time and time again. The funny thing, Moses was the first person that came to me in 2003. He's like, hey, let's invest in this stock and buy some stocks in Google, and we didn't do it, but over the years we've circled back. So I have a lot of different friends that that I admire because of who they are. So by virtue of being friends with me, pretty much I take my friends very serious.
Right.
And family members, my aunt Joan has actually been somebody we've spoken on time and time again. From since I was young, she was always like, hey, you need to be a lawyer. You need to be a lawyer. You need to be a lawyer. Reason why? Because she said, like, I love money. I was like, so. And then, my grandmother, she literally was somebody that I really looked up to because it takes the virtue of my grandmother, literally, it took probably all 7 daughters to try to equal my grandmother. And still yet, it had to be the grandkids that tried to combine with the daughters to try to, and my grandmother was a very phenomenal woman.
Yeah.
Very strong. They don't make them like that anymore. And then, of course, my mom, my mom is very hardworking.
Yeah.
And over the years, she's given me some pointers here and there that, we don't always see eye to eye, but the fact that she'd give me like when I listen to her sometimes, she'll give me like little pointers here and there from experience. And it's very good. And then last person, my dad. My dad is, I know my dad from back in Guyana. He used to be very forward thinking. So my dad would just sit down and just read books and that kind of stuff. And if I'm going to do a project, let's say I work on a car or something, I would definitely go and I'll Dad, you want to help me with this? I can do it, but I just feel more confident when he's there.
Right.
Right. And just doing something with him. So it's pretty cool,
That's really good. Who and what shaped you into the person that you are today?
Who and what? I'll say God. That's it. The many most people, some people will say, hey, I know Ruel. I know him. Nobody knows me. God knows me. The enemy has studied me, right? But God knows me. And, being a young man and the things I've experienced, the things I've gone through, again, those are things we're going to talk about later on. But he brought me through them.
Right.
One of the hardest point in my life so far has been my divorce. I was when I got married, I actually was immature, very immature. Didn't understand life, wasn't prepared for life, and had to try to navigate, trying to figure something out that you don't know. And by the time I started maturing up, let's put it this way, I was 25 years old, body-wise, but 18-year-old mindset. And by the time I started to try to mature up or catch up, my marriage was on the rocks and I didn't know who to turn to or where to turn to. So finally, went into depression for like 5 years, literally. 5 years of my life is just, and so the only person I could have turned to day and night, snarling, everything, was my father. And literally, he really picked me up. I remember one time, I was just there complaining, crying like David, and God's like, enough. I'm like, okay. Just like, okay, fine. I'm gonna stop complaining and whining. And as I started to come out of that depression, I started seeing a lot of things open up for me, but I would just say God really shaped my mentality, like the way I am. I'm very grateful, very, very grateful.
Right. So that actually leads to my next question, which will be, why do you believe in God?
Oh, man. Why do I believe in God? I mean, it's not that I believe in God. I'm going to tell you this. I know there's a God. I know he's there. So it's not a belief. It's like I know. And, like I see my father, my earthly father every single day, I can physically touch him and stuff. My father, I cannot see him right now, but I know his presence is there because the just waking up alone for me is a blessing. He didn't have to do that.
Right.
I mean, I know when they taught me in school, they said 0 times 0 is 0. 0 times 100. And I do, my background is in IT, so 0 times anything is 0. 0 times a billion, a zillion, a gazillion is 0. Doesn't matter. 0. Infinite, 0. Still 0. But then one day, somebody come with this idea, 0 times 0 is not 0 anymore. It's something. And I'm like, how does that make sense? Because this is 0. This ear, this void right now is 0. Right? And this ear having right now is charged with oxygen and nitrogen and different things, right? But in outer space, there's nothing.
Right.
So if you tell me there's nothing, then how can it be something? Boom. It doesn't make sense.
Right.
So it had to take someone with the power, the wisdom to create everything. And that's God. So for me, I've been time where I've almost lost my life. And I have the scars to prove it. Where a hand literally came out and touched me and moved my body and spared my life. And actually, I'm going to have one of the guests eventually who's going to speak more about that story itself, right? But I was the one that actually saw the hand. Nobody else did. It's so crazy. But anyhow, so I know there's a God.
Leading to now transitioning from adulthood to now fatherhood, which is, of course, the phase that you're in now. How did you feel when you found out that you were going to be a father?
How did I feel wow, I mean, it was the most amazing experience for me. Understanding that, so the funny thing is, so one day your mom called me on the phone and she was like, I need to speak to you. And I'm thinking I'm in trouble. I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, all day at work, I'm losing my mind. I was like, what did I do? So I got home and she's like, I think you want to sit down. I'm like, oh boy. And then she's like, in my head now, I'm sitting down. I'm like, no, I'm stand up. I'll take it like a man. And then I was like, she bought a speaker. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to sit down. I'm just going to sit. I don't even know what you're going to tell me right now. And I don't have people do stuff like that to me. You know what I mean? Like, just tell me. You know what I mean? So she's like, Ruel, I'm pregnant. My head go. I fell back in the bed, right? Like, just like, okay. And immediately, it's like a calmness. One thing, when people get nervous or they get scared or something, they flight and they fight. Me, I just go into like a zen mode, and I relax. My body just goes chill. And I start to think. That's when I'm doing deep thinking. So when she told me that, I just went back in the bed and I was like, okay, we're about to deal with this. And this. So basically, I was extremely excited, extremely excited, and literally, there's a lot more to it, but I was excited. I was like, okay, yeah, definitely. I'm going to be a father, and I wasn't ready. I was not ready. But ready or not, I had to man up.
Right.
Yeah.
Next up would be, what do you enjoy most about being a father?
The things that we do together. We've traveled together. I remember we've traveled. We have had conversations. We do stupid stuff. We pillow fights and stuff.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? It's like we're two big kids. You know what I mean? We just have fun. I remember when we were traveling to was it Thailand? Is that Thailand or Greece or one of the places? I was just there like I think I was eating noodles, right?
Oh, yeah.
I was eating
Yeah.
noodles,
Thailand.
and I wasn't watching where we needed to go. So I'm here walking this way, and then you're like, "No, Dad, we have to go this," because you're reading all the signs and everything, right? But in a sense, I was like carefree. I was like, I didn't really care if I had to walk all the way down the airport going this way. Find out I was wrong. I had to come all the way back. But you know, it's the fact that you're there and you're taking over, you're taking charge. I didn't have a problem with it, and I enjoy the fact that you can actually like shine, right? Even like doing business and stuff. And so we sit down. I look to do business with you. I look to do stocks. I look to do the podcast because it's my daughter, right? And I feel a sense of accomplishment. And it's like, this is amazing because how many fathers take the time out to do something like this? How many fathers take the time out to share experience? And we have had serious in-depth conversation where, you know what I mean, I'm graphic about stuff. That's just me. I'm not going to hide. I'm not going to sugarcoat. I'm not going to tell you something that is not true to let you I'm in a snacky right now.
Right.
Like Christmas and Valentine's and Halloween and what else? Easter and all that foolishness. I'm not going to tell you about that stuff so that one day you'll grow up to realize that it's not true. Like, the tooth fairy. I'm not going to teach you that stuff. Then for you to grow up and say, oh, wait, hold up. I was lied to all my life.
Right.
Then to unlearn it. Then to learn the right thing. No, I'm just going to tell you the right thing. And then we're just going to have to just deal with it as it comes. And, I don't believe in those things. Those things are a waste of time.
Yeah.
So I'd rather deal with things that are more... I rather deal with truth. Yeah. So I enjoyed the conversations that we've had, and the experience.
In what ways do you think we're similar?
We're crazy alike. I mean, literally. I mean, people know. Some people that have an idea of who I am. I'm very carefree, happy-go-lucky. I've done skydiving. I've done jet skiing. I've done boating. Gone to the range, all these different things, and you're the exact same way. Like, hey, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to skydive. And at the time when I went skydiving, you were too young, so you couldn't make it.
Yeah.
But these are things that we share. We literally, we're not adrenaline junkies, but we like to enjoy life, embrace life, and sometimes if it's safe, hey, we can act it out. You know what I mean?
It's a little risky. It's okay to be a little risky here and there.
So even like we love traveling. We love traveling. We like when I went to Greece, or when we went to Greece, right? It was amazing because you were there. We went flew into Thessaloniki. You were keeping my company. I think that's the first time you saw me drive stick shift.
I think so.
Manual car, right?
Yeah.
So we just, you're driving, and we go, and then we got to Pretoria, we had fun.
Yeah.
Then the day when we went to, when we went driving, the day when we left the hotel, we went driving.
Oh, yeah.
And we started to see, man, that was
wild.
We literally went driving, and we saw, these old towns and different things. In, I think we were outside of Pretoria.
Yeah.
And, but nobody was on the road. They were, and the GPS kept on saying, make a right turn, make a right turn.
Where?
And I'm looking at myself I'm looking at Reah what right turn? There's no road. And when you look over the side of the road, there's a road that dirt road I'm like, oh my gosh. But to be honest, there was some level of fear, not necessarily for me, but if something happens to me, I have to make sure that you're safe.
Yeah.
And going through the little towns, and you could literally reach out. You're driving the little small car, and there's a house right here on the road.
Yeah.
So you can touch the house while you're driving past on the road and everything.
Yeah.
And So I'm like, man, if you know you watch like a lot of stupid movies, right? Like Jeepers Creepers or something, and the wheel bust, the blowout. What would you do? Would you get out the car and try to fix it in the middle of nowhere? In my head, I'm like, if the wheel busts in this car, I am going to rim this car all the way to town. I don't care. I'm not stopping. All right, I'm not getting out of this car for nothing. It's going to be rims and road, right? So, but you know, it took us a while to get back to like a main road, I was like, thank God. But in my head, I was saying all that, right? Because I'm like, I got to be cool, daddy. You know me, I have to be like, I have to be cool, daddy. I can't show any sign of fear or whatever because my daughter's with me, and if I panic, then what's going to happen with you? So we had a lot of fun, man. So we like I said, we enjoyed traveling. Thailand was amazing. You were there, and so we've done stuff. So,
yeah, for sure. How do you think we're different?
You're smarter than me. Well, you know what I mean. I believe that you know what I mean. Every parent should train their children to be the better version of themselves. And the reason why I push you, like we spoke in the other video, I push you so hard is because I see the inner me, the greatness in me that never got tapped into. And I'm like, you're Stevenson. It means something. And if knowing the things that, you know what I mean, like for instance, when I went to high school, some people saw in me and they would like, Ruel, they would talk with me and different things. But nobody ever really brought out that inner Ruel. So knowing that that inner Ruel is there, I understand who Reah is.
Right.
And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to push her because she has to be broken to be mended back. You know, when you break your hand or something, you not fracture your wrist, or when you break your hand and it remends, it is actually stronger than any other part of your body. I don't think you can break the same spot again. That's how strong it is. So sometimes when you break that person, you put them back. That's why in the military they break you and then they rebuild you because they build you back stronger. So with all these different life lessons that I've learned, I said, you know what? I have to teach my daughter to be better than me.
Right.
And you have a lot of your mom's qualities. Your mom is very smart. I mean, was it summa cum laude? Oh, she pulled that. She pulled out. I told her one day, right? It's like, hey, you graduated from college cum laude or whatever, cum laude or whatever. She's like, excuse me. Summa cum laude. I'm like, man, get out of here. You know what I mean? But you have that drive, that mindset. If I can trust you, because like when it comes to stocks, I say, hey, figure this out. You got it.
Yeah.
When it comes to business, I say, hey, here's this book. Read this book. Figure it out. Because that's the way I've trained you. So now I literally see that we're different because I can now tell you to do something. Whereas my parents, they couldn't tell me to do that. I wanted to play. I wanted to hang out and hang out with my friends in the Caribbean and hang out in college. In college was different, but you know we'll talk about that some other time.
Yeah. What is something about yourself that you see in me, like a character trait or just something?
You know what I mean? I see that drive, right? That drive that I had as a young child that never got tapped into as an adult that is awakening.
Yeah.
Right? I see that in you from a very early time. And it's like, you know what? I'm going to push you. I'm going to break you. I'm going to rebuild you, push you, and build you, and break you. Because you have to go through that in order to become that great Reah. You can be mayor, you can be governor, you can be president, right? And you can make great changes.
Yeah.
Or you can be a billionaire and influence changes.
Yeah.
However it is, but or not even just on a business standpoint, but you can lead a lot of people to God, to Christ. Just if you stay the course. So you know what I mean? You can lead people. When people start to speak to you and everything like that, they understand that, hey, wow, how old are you again? Right? And you're very mature. So, yeah.
And last but not least, what is one of the greatest lessons you want to pass down to me?
Greatest lessons, I would say, know God for yourself. That's it. Know God for yourself. Literally, no man can tell you that there's no God. It said the Bible said, only a fool saying in his heart there's no God. So anyone that tell you that there's no God, it's a fool.
Right.
So know God for yourself. Be firm in who God is. Have that relationship. Have that tried, tested, and proven relationship with Him, and test Him
Yeah.
and know Him. Not just from what people say, not from what I say, not from what the church say, but from the Bible. Test Him for yourself. Because for me personally, I have my struggles day to day, and I know that the only person I could have relied on is me. God. Is God. That's the only person I can rely on. And I can't even rely on myself. I don't even trust myself. So when you get that point in your life where it's like, hey, you know what? Lord, it doesn't matter what people say to me. It doesn't matter what they think of me. It doesn't matter what they believe. You know me. And you know the struggles that I have. And you will help me through this.
And with that being said, that is all the questions I have for Dad, which concludes our Q&A session and also concludes the introductory series of the In My Father's House podcast, which means that next week we will officially be premiering our first episode, which will include a topic that, of course, you guys will know soon. So don't forget to include some more topics that you guys would like to suggest that we can go over. And so don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Share with your friends, family, and everyone that you know. And anything else you'd like to add?
Just want to say, guys, thank you so much for everything that you guys have done so far. Thank you so much for liking. Thank you so much for sharing. We appreciate all the comments. We love them. We respond to you guys. And please, again, this might impact someone's life. You never know, but please share it. And, we look forward to having you guys in this journey. So, love you.
Love you guys. Bye.
Bye. All right, cool.
Very nice.